As Chuck E. Cheese emerges from its tumultuous previous year, I wanted to go over things the fandom should be looking out for in the company as we head into 2026. CEC is still very antiquated in their PR skills, so there won't be any direct way of following what happens in the company outside of what the fandom is able to share around. The company only uses its social media for ads, and will usually go silent for months before doing a news cycle press tour on whatever they're wanting to promote that quarter. So going into this year, we're going to still need to rely on employees and managers to know what is even going on, so a shout out to them for helping the community stay up to date so far. First thing to go over, however, is everyone's hope for a bankruptcy. While CEC was able to delay its outstanding $650 million debt that was set to due in May this year, this was just done by purchasing another loan, which is due in September of 2030. CEC was also unable to secure the full amount, so they still have $25 million due this May, whether that was because they felt comfortable forecasting that payment or that it was just unsecurable in their new arrangement. The initial reports also note that there is an additional $75 million in debt due in August of 2029. Despite this amount being pushed back, this does not mean CEC is in the clear. Regardless of debt payments, if the company is not making enough money to operate, there can still be issues ahead. Looking at this graph, which I will note includes Pizza Time Theater and Showbiz Pizza stores in the early parts, as the current company is a merger of both brands, but does not include any Peter Piper Pizza locations, the closures have outpaced openings for 3 years now. This isn't something that has happened since 1996. Openings also really haven't outpaced closures in about a decade. Looking at the total store count here, this has been the lowest since around 2008 and trending downwards. Looking at last year's openings, there weren't technically any CECs newly opened in the US, as Huntington Beach was just a relocation due to the owners not wanting to renew the old building's lease. This year only had 2 Chuck's Arcades open and with zero marketing, which I might add the Kissimmee location I didn't even know existed until last month, and it's not even displayed in the Chuck's Arcade website. The only other major build was the first Adventure World, and we'll get into that later. I'd say the fandom going into this year should focus on tracking upcoming closures and maybe some additional Chuck's Arcade openings we may miss. Previous openings and closures were pretty public things employees could check on, but last year CEC became much more secretive with telling employees and social media really anything, and are now only speaking to the press in very limited ways. As seen with 2025's openings though, CEC has been trying to expand into other markets outside the US. This isn't a move to find like an upcoming business testing their new idea to see if it's globally scalable, and more that the stagnation in US growth is forcing them to find other places that may grow the concept, like their 21 locations now in Saudi Arabia. One of CEC's expansions is going to be 3 locations in Istanbul, Turkey by the end of the year, with plans to have 20 locations by 2030. These locations are being subsidized by the government and are all franchises, so it'll remain to be seen how they perform. I'm not aware of any fans from Turkey that'll be able to spy out construction and do tours, so we may only hear about these locations through any limited news coverage. One expansion that's not been heard of is the apparent multiple locations set to open in Guyana that was announced in December of 2024. These weren't given any sort of planned opening, but if nothing happens this year, it's likely they fell through with a franchisee. A similar situation is with the Australian locations. The Joondalup location was fully booked through its opening and may be doing well, but with the original 2024 press release noting multiple locations secured with Royale Hospitality Group not being reconfirmed, it might be a market that's not too pleasing for the rapid expansion they are seeking. Of course, CEC's biggest expansion will be into the UK this year, as they have deemed both it and Europe as key markets. Thankfully, there are CEC fans in the UK, so the locations to be looking out for construction will be in Milton Keynes, Glasgow, Leeds, Manchester, Birmingham, and Bristol, with people thinking Birmingham to be the likely first store. The CEC UK socials seem to begin ramping up PR as of last week, so be on the lookout for a direct announcement. Of course, we can't talk about CEC without mentioning AI Slop World. CEC's breakout location last November saw multiple corporate employees glazing their own store on Google reviews before their location had even opened. When the fandom decided to review bomb the store for its horrendous use of AI art, they were sure to get the page wiped, and anyone who had left a review shadow banned from leaving a new one. We also got a statement on the backlash from the Director of Construction and Facilities saying, quote, "Amazed by the hate on this post. Hope all the haters are able to process through the negative experiences in your past that caused this much hate, because it's clearly not an issue with AI, and it's rooting from something much deeper, end quote. Regardless, the opening was very much booked, and Randy decided to gloat that the new chain was expected to be growing to 500 to 1,000 locations, up to double what the current amount of CECs are in the US alone. Quote, "We are gearing up, ramping up, to grow across the nation, just like we did with Chuck E. Cheese over the years," end quote. Once the PR died down though, the location hasn't seemed that much of a breakout success. Customers have already noted the place as overpriced, too small compared to other play centers, bad customer service, and in one instance discrimination towards a gay couple. The location is already at 2.9 stars, but I'm sure with thought and care it can go a little bit lower. It seems space was bad enough at the location that the dance floor was removed last month to make way for seating, and that there's been additional internal problems that haven't been put out there. So after all that, are there plans for Adventure World to explode on the market for 2026? Well, a January 8th statement on the chain noted, quote, "The company says it will test a handful of locations before setting any full rollout goals," end quote. And this was also in their latest big PR news article for the beginning of the year. CEC trends much more in the article towards Chuck's Arcade and nostalgia compared to their big push for active play last year. There are currently 0 known plans for Adventure Worlds yet, though likely the first place you'll hear about them will be on David McKillop's Instagram. There is also the possibility that Adventure World isn't directly planned as a new chain, however, and may be poised to become the next major remodel for stores. It seems CEC has shopped AI World around to franchisees, and before the first store opened, they were using the Brandon, Florida location as a basis. Brandon had its superhero playground expanded and a mini bowling alley added in last July. This expanded playground, dubbed as the Mega Superhero Playground, which can come in either a 2-level or 4-level configuration, which requires the drop ceiling to be lifted, has been installed in 3 other locations since: St. Charles, Arlington, and a mystery location that might be Fullerton, and with more stores planned for the expansion as well. The only real difference between Adventure World and these stores is having an arcade versus a clawcade, which is a hit trend in the US right now. CEC could easily roll out a new game package to begin converting stores to this format, and thus with a new exterior sign could rebrand a CEC into an Adventure World. These mega playgrounds are not a confirmation a store will be converted, as these are just opt-in expansions stores can get, but as we saw how quickly the initial trampoline zones and playgrounds overtook and changed how CECs had to be run, this is definitely CEC's backup plan for keeping stores relevant after 2.0. Another major shakeup may be CEC's partnership with Happy Nest for its media content. CEC's 6-year-long slog to finally do something creative for once resulted in the holiday special releasing in November, which did feel like a breath of fresh air for the brand moments after AI Hell World opened up. The entire cast was redesigned and set to new voice actors, which also appeared in shorts across the show tapes and the YouTube channels. But due to CEC's channel constantly posting kids slop all day long, them posting the entire special for free was hit hard by the algorithm, and it hasn't even made it to 200k views past the new year. The special was also released on Amazon Prime, but given they didn't do any celebrations on viewership, I doubt the numbers were much on there either. Sad to see an entire free movie not even crack 1 million views from a major brand like that. In fact, the original Chuck E. Cheese movie, the Galaxy 5000, is actually higher than it at 255k views, and that was just a random video on YouTube. Despite that setback, it looks like Happy Nest's content may be what will continue to overtake show tapes and the channel throughout the year. I already believe Jarrett Reddick's Chuck won't make a return for new content going into the year, which is sad because the last new thing was U2's taking a sexually charged AI-generated meme video,
cream pie for me, cream pie for you, cream pies for all,
and using it to market their CEC plush,
cream pie for me,
without his consent. 2026 may be the end of the Rockstar era, so comment what you think the next era should be called by the fandom. My vote is for Happy Nest era, since they do deserve all the credit for the designs. And as for the planned TV show with the new cast, I think the views have killed any plans for that. Again, in the recent PR stunt, David goes back to his half-a-decade-long catchphrase of wanting a CEC movie, but doesn't even hint at any sort of success or plans with his just-released half a movie. Happy Nest is likely going to be taking on contract work for animating new songs every once in a while for the foreseeable future. Let's circle back to Chuck's Arcade, as it was really the only thing CEC pushed in its latest PR move. Sadly, a few days before the article, the major flagship Chuck's Arcade closed as the first for the chain, being in Kansas City. Now, I will note that this store was originally a Peter Piper Pizza that opened in 2023, that was changed into a CEC in 2024, and a Chuck's Arcade in mid-2025, so already a lot of turmoil, but being the flagship store with a pizzeria, walls of historic memorabilia, and a good selection of games doesn't bode well for the other locations. I was told it only raked in $600 on its last day, and that's with no warning that it was set to close. If, however, CEC is still confident in it, then probably a few more may open up in more strategic locations this year. It's certainly much less of a hassle than opening a new CEC. They won't tell us when one opens though, so there might be a new one right now that we don't even know of. I think there will be lots to watch out for in 2026, but certainly nothing that'll interest the fan base. The only thing exciting would be a sudden bankruptcy, so watch out for sudden closures, CEC paying their debt in May, and how well CEC closes out the summer, as that really makes or breaks them in any given year, and almost took them out last year. And as for the fandom, I'm feeling it'll stay niche unless a bankruptcy happens. When a fanbase clashes with a corporation this much and feels so betrayed time and again, most people just leave from disinterest or boredom. At least we'll be getting the new Rock-afire Volo show in the summer, and the new Showbiz Prize Place appearing in arcades, and BillyCon starting on July 17th though. CEC has also practically shot their leg off with not properly getting together retro merch lines that adults would be interested in, including outside the fandom. Most of what we saw last year were hyper-expensive luxury clothing and trading card brands taking up the license, and then a few shirts on Amazon. The fandom responded well to the U2's plushies, but they haven't really expanded past that. Regardless of nostalgia pandering just leading to more mindless consumerism, CEC is the most critically underutilized brand for having its own section in a Hot Topic or a dedicated retro merch line. This brand is sitting on multiple generations of millions of Americans that all grew up with their own version of Chucky they want to buy, and they could really lean into that appeal of the mascot's iterations to market it, but it's genuinely as safe and bare bones as they could have possibly done it. And for that, it's wasting some easy money. Hell, they could have repackaged some old shows, paid the licensees, and sold it on a CD, or partner with an education groups to make robotics kits for kids interested in animatronics. I mean, it's truly sad how much of a walking corpse this company is sometimes. Either way, that'll wrap it up for now. I plan on doing more Chuck E. Cheese news and topic videos to keep the fandom alive a bit more. Cheese-E-Pedia is also expanding well with our push this month to catalog all the merchandise, and we just implemented a new graph and search system to make research easier. I hope by the end of the year we can begin forming a proper web of which arcades and attractions appeared in each store, as that is a major interest for fans, alongside finally switching our editor over to Sveltia CMS to help contributors. Either way, I will see you in the next video.